Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all here in this webinar session being conducted by TNV Academy. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce the guest speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Ajay Bajpai. The topic with which Mr. Ajay Bajpai is here with all of us in this webinar is Clause 10.2 of ISO 9001, which speaks about non-conformity and corrective action. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Ajay Bajpai, has done his bachelor's in engineering in metallurgy stream. He is also a lead auditor in ISO 9001, 14001, 45001, 37001, 22000, 27001, 13485, 22301, and 50001 standards, respectively. If I talk about his overall experience in this particular industry, then Mr. Ajay Bajpai has got over 38 plus years of experience in training, auditing, certification, and accreditation processes. He has been imparting training to a number of organizations, entrepreneurs, and individuals on various topics related to ISO terminologies and their certification and implementation. This was just a brief introduction of our guest speaker today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ajay Bajpai. I may request Mr. Ajay Bajpai now to please take over and start the webinar.
Thank you, Apur. This is one subject which is really making the improvements in the organization, because if we are able to identify the non-conformities and we can do the root cause analysis and we can take corrective actions, then improvements will come automatically. So this is the topic which we thought we will discuss today. Before this discussion, I was having a team discussion with our global team, and we were discussing that lot of different kind of situations are there in the world in global fraternity. Somewhere the war is on, somewhere the earthquakes have taken place. So all these are in a way are non-conformities, and we are going to take corrective actions against all them, maybe one by one, or depending upon the situation, depending upon the non-conformity which have occurred because of maybe natural calamity. So it is a natural non-conformity. Maybe regions are there. We have played with the environment. We have not been taking care of several, natural situations which we have. So the non-conformities are occurring. So we will discuss how to take corrective actions against them so that the ultimate plan of improvement is there. So what happens when we start with this? When a non-conformity occurs, what is a non-conformity? First of all, we have discussed series of non-conformities in past. So non-conformity, when we see into many organizations, the teams try to only look at internal audit non-conformities. So that is one risk which we see into many organizations who are going for certification or even who are certified. So we will discuss what happens. There are product non-conformities, there are process non-conformities, there are non-conformity coming from complaints. We have customers, internal customers, we have external customers, we have final customers, we have society as a customer. So any of the interested parties can raise an issue. They may have a dissatisfaction from our products and services. So they may go for a complaint raising against our activities. So that means there is a non-conformity, they are not satisfied, their requirements are not met. So all these needs to be taken care under this clause 10.2 of 9001. This is also in various other standards today, as most of the standards are aligned. So their non-conformity may be different. The environmental standard non-conformity may be different in nature, but today we are discussing with respect to 9001. So what did we do? First of all, when a non-conformity is reported or sent to us, or we ourselves are able to get hand on to this due to our internal inspections, internal audit, internal checkings, or customer visits, and so on. So we need to react to the non-conformity. You see, so the first plan is to make a reaction plan that yes, there is a non-conformity, it is coming, the source is XYZ, the region is this, and then we go into taking actions. So what do? We take action to control it. Say for example, we had a problem of size when we supplied the packaging material to our customer. There's a size problem into the packing boxes. So what do? We take action to control the size. We may cut it, reduce the size. We may get back to our manufacturing unit. We may send back it to our subcontractor, maybe, depending upon the situation, and then correct it so that the dissatisfaction level coming out of complaints or our internal rejections and so on is corrected. Deal with the consequences. See, when a non-conformity has been noticed, say for example from customer complaints, so there are consequences like what? Their production will be at a break. Our production will be at a break. So the chain of supply is breaking. So these are the consequences. Ultimately, the supply eating to the customers will be hindered. So we need to deal with all these consequences by immediately taking actions and so on, so that the production process, supply chain activity is brought under control. Then next step, what we do? We need to evaluate the need for action to eliminate the causes of non-conformity. Now, this is a size problem. We have taken the example. So why this size has gone wrong of packaging material? We go into the root cause analysis and we make effort to see that those causes are eliminated. If there is a problem of instrument, if there is a problem of tape, if there is a problem into the wrong size display into the workshop or into the dispatch area, we take action in order that it does not reoccur, so that it should not repeat. When the size problem is there, similar kind of a size problem should not take place into our area of size of the packaging material. Also, uh, or occur elsewhere. Once we have seen a situation that yes, the packaging material has a problem of the size, there are many things into the organization which we are processing, which we are manufacturing, which we are subcontracting. So we try and make effort that wherever there can be a problem of size due to our instrumentation problem, display of work instructions, or old plan being displayed, we take actions in the similar way, so that in other areas also the sizing problem does not take place. If the instrument is not calibrated, we calibrate it and so on. If the training of operator is not adequate, we train them. So these actions are taken. We also then move on how reviewing and analyzing the non-conformity. When a non-conformity has been received, we have a format of receiving it and reporting it and so on. So we are reviewing this non-conformity and then move into analytical mode, and we try to analyze the non-conformity, why it has happened. We go to root cause, we go to corrective actions in details, and the actions are taken accordingly. By determining the causes of non-conformity, as I discussed earlier, that the causes we try to identify after the receipt of the non-conformity. It may be a wrong instruments used by our customer at times. We have seen situation where customer has reported a non-conformity, but he himself was not measuring it correctly because of standards changes, because of the SOP changes, because of the operator not being trained and so on. So we determine the causes of non-conformity in details. So this is the conceptual part of non-conformity and corrective action. We go further into actions. How? Determining if similar non-conformity exists or could potentially occur. So one, we have discussed that similar kind of NCs may exist, similar kind of size problem, similar kind of, the performance problem, similar kind of dispatch problem. If dispatch is delayed, delivery are delayed, they may exist in case of other customer also. So we try to study and analyze that. And also we see, could potentially occur. We have received some new orders from customers, so their orders may also be delayed because of our transportation problem or because of our software not being supporting the delivery schedules and so on. So the potential causes also we try to understand and analyze that, so that our system becomes foolproof ultimately by taking and entering into clause 10.2, because now we are talking of an improvement clause. What we further do, we implement any action needed. Okay, so now we have decided a few things here, that calibration will be done, uh, SOP will be revised, training will be done further. So this implementation is going on. This training, calibration, revisions, transportation method changing is going on. So we are implementing these actions. So then what happens? We review the effectiveness of the corrective actions taken. So we have a plan to conduct a calibration, recalibration of the measuring instrument of the sizes of the cartons. So we go and review the effectiveness. Yes, now the sizing is all right. Now the calibration is okay. Now the tapes or verniers being used are duly calibrated. They have got national, international traceability, which may be missing at times. That is why the non-conformity have occurred. That is why the customer complaint have come. That is why the internal report has come for the mismatch of the dimensions or the mismatch of the performance of the products and so on. So we review the effectiveness of the CH taken. Then what we do? We are having a risk and opportunity clause, clause 6. So we have developed a risk and opportunity chart, and the planning is going on as per that. So whenever there is a requirement, whenever there is a necessity, we go to risk and opportunity area and we review that, and planning is updated accordingly into the risk and opportunity planning of measurement, sizes and performance, and as per the customer complaint we have received. And then what we do? Make changes to the quality management system if necessary. We see many situations into first party, second party, third party audits. Organization takes corrective actions. They implement it also. Corrective actions are taken. But the documentation changes, quality management system changes are not taking place simultaneously. So a long-term action is not being implemented, and these things will again reoccur, as we have discussing earlier, that reoccurrence again take place because the document has not been revised, the document has not been replaced, the faulty instrument has not been replaced, it has not been recalibrated and so on, and the chart has not changed. So we need to make effective changes to the quality management system which has been documented. Also, we need to see that corrective action shall be appropriate to the effects of the non-conformity encountered. We have seen, we have studied in the last this thing that lot of consequences are there because of the non-conformity occurred, because of the corrective actions we are taking. So they should go hand to hand. It should be appropriate to the effects of the NC encountered, to the effect of the customer complaint occur, to the effect of the product non-conformity occur, to the effect of internal audit NC encountered, which we have seen into the first party or second party audit. So this appropriateness is important. Sometimes we see the directions are going different. The problem was because of the measurement system analysis not being done correctly, but we are going to train our subcontractor for the delivery sometime. We have seen that happening. This mismatch take place at times. So this appropriateness of corrective actions is the key to success. Then organization shall retain documented information. When we go for the audit, when we see the NC and corrective actions are taken place, so there is a requirement that yes, documented information should be shown to us as an evidence, so that we are confident yes, the nature of non-conformity has been analyzed. We know what is the nature of NC. It is a training problem, it is a calibration problem, it is a delivery problem, it is a performance problem. What is the issue? updated documentation is not there, maybe. So we do analysis of that. And we also see what are the subsequent action taken. So the subsequent actions are taken, but is there documented information? Has documentation been revised or a new documentation has been prepared to see that extra checking processes implemented into the dispatch area where we are checking it again so that the sizing problem is not repeated, it does not reoccur. And the results of corrective actions are effectively documented. Organization will normally be filling a form or preparing a chart of the corrective actions. So they should be documented effectively. And when we see into the auditing, we see yes that conformity is there, or if it is not there, there can be a non-conformity of whatever nature depending upon the documented information with respect to the NC and corrective action not being retained by the department or organization. So that's the concept of clause 10.2 with respect to non-conformities and corrective action being documented, implemented into the organization. So what do we do now? What are the desired results? We expect that organization team is trained on the concept of NC and corrective action. So this conceptual understanding is very important. Not only the internal audit NC, the product NC, the process NC, the NC is raised by internal customer, external customers, customer complaint, customer dissatisfaction. So there are various types of situations coming. So these concepts needs to be understood, and corrective action, appropriate corrective actions concept needs to be understood. If we implement this clause effectively into the organization, throughout the organization, then what happens? The quality management systems intended results are achieved, and it gives assurance yes, that 9001 2015 certification will be done with the intended results, and also it meets the global requirements and customer requirements as and when and if any that yes, organization must implement 9001 2015 with effective implementation of NCL corrective action. We also see number of times into the organization that NC and corrective actions method, the documentation, the process, the work instruction, the procedure, the language is not clear. It is not meaningful. We have seen into the audits of, even very good organizations who are in very good control of the rejection, rework, customer satisfaction and all. But when we go for audits, the clarity is not there. The language is not adequate. Language is confusing. Meaningful language is not there. Logical things are not shared into. So when we are looking into this as a desired result, this is what is the expectation of the internal second party, third party auditors, and for organization to see that yes, that improvements are taking place. Meets the needs of the interested parties. Interested parties are raising a lot of issues at time by way of NCs and corrective action. So if we can handle them adequately, the teams are trained including the interested parties on our procedure, on our work instructions, then the conceptually we are on the same wavelength, and NCs and corrective actions are being implemented effectively and bring the desired results. It also meets the mission, vision, and direction of the top management. Top management has some thoughts on NCs and corrective actions to be done in time, to be reduced, to be minimized, and so on, as per our objectives, which we have planned to meet in line with the policy of the organization for NC and corrective actions. So it is met as a desired results. Once it is understood, then we go to planning. We always say instead of getting documentation from somewhere, implement in our organization needs to be looked into again and again. So first step will normally be a drafting of the documentation and then approval of this NC and corrective action Policy and procedures. We will always have a NC and corrective action policy, procedure, work instruction to support the activity going on. So this planning needs to be done effectively. Then we provide training to the teams that yes, this is our NC and policy, NC and corrective action policy. So understand it. So without understanding, a clear training is not done, implementation is not effective. NCs are there, corrective actions are being taken place, but this is going on some way or the other because the proper training has not been done. We also appreciate physical displays, work instruction and procedures into the office, into the departments, into the workshops, so that the implementation team is aware of this. They are not having any doubts, they are not having any thoughts because the things are very clearly displayed. Organizations are there who are making it available on website maybe so that they are clear, all the interested parties are clear, their customers are clear on their policy, their supplier, subcontractor, their vendors, you know, their service providers are clear onto this NC policy procedure work instruction, so that when discussion takes place or when a situation is there of NC and customer complaints, they are all on same wavelength. They discuss what is effectively documented and is available here and on maybe on website. There are various softwares available to handle NC and corrective actions today. So we may implement them suiting to our requirement, to our products, our processes, our organization culture, our customer requirement, our vendor supplier situations, our supply chain activity. And I always say, do not implement any software as it is unless you get it suited to your operational, suited to your organization's working. And then what do? We communicate these policies within the organization and all interested parties. So when there is a situation of non-conformity, we are all on to the similar wavelength. We talk on the same language. There are 10 steps into our NC and corrective action policy handling, which may be displayed here, may be displayed on website also at times with respect to customer complaint and sometimes the appeals procedure and so on. So the communication is clear if we have this documentation made available to the team in the organization and to all interested parties. Then when we discuss, we follow the same steps and improvements are naturally brought about with the implementation of the policy. Then what happens? We go into action. Now, drafting, review, approval, training, concept clearance, display, physical procedure, distribution, communication, and knowledge, done. So now the implementation is on. Once we are implementing the NC handling and corrective action policy plans, then what happens? We are going to monitor the processes and plans as per the NC and corrective action policy. There is a non-conformity observed in stores area while we were receiving the material from a particular supplier who was supplying us the pins for the assembly of the carton. So there is a problem there. There is a non-conformity. So now we see that our policy to handle this with subcontractor, with supplier is established now. Now that process is on. So the implementation is on and we move on as per our plan. Conceptually understanding has been done. So this policy is being implemented. And discussion with supplier, the internal discussion, maybe discussion with the customer sometimes when we talk of discounts, when we talk of waivers at times because of the NC happening, because everything and anything cannot be reworked or rejected. So there are tolerances available with the customers, particularly in case of automotive companies where mass productions are going on. Lot of time the discounts, the waivers are asked from the customer. So there are policies which we have documented, concepts are clear. So now we go on into implementation and we monitor all these processes. Then we get into analysis of these processes with respect to our objectives and targets. So NC policy is there, NC objectives are there, and we have set our certain objective with respect to that. Yes, 1% reduction, 1.2% improvement, 2% changes, and so on. So we keep on conducting the analysis after the monitoring of the process. And we update the NC policy chart of implementation. Organization will have various kind of charts which are now into action when the implementation is going on. So we keep on updating and we keep on developing and redeveloping the charts of implementation. So now the action is going on and we see implementation critically now, because now it is 2 3 months have gone. We have documented, drafted the process in the month of November, December. Now we are in February month. So we are running the policy chart in various functions. And our aim is to what? Enhance the effectiveness of NC policy implementation. Whatever was the policy, whatever were the objectives, they do not remain the same. If they remain the same, then why we are going for 9001 implementation with the help of clause 10.2? Why we are into improvement plans? So we need to enhance the effectiveness of our NC policy implementation. Whatever we have drafted, approved, may require revisions, changes. Then what happens? The data, the plans are updated into the planning chart. Planning chart which were documented in November may not remain same in the month of February, maybe second week when we are into 2023. The documentation was done in year 2022 November. Now a lot of changes have taken place. Few new machines have come. Few objectives such as new customers are added who have got different kind of requirements into raw material selection. Their NC policy may be different. So we have to align our NC policy and objective with respect to the client's NC policy and objectives. Or maybe we have to make suggestions to the clients to see that our policy gets aligned with them. We can have a discussion on this with the client, which is done very often into mass production kind of situation, automotive industry, defense industries, where a lot of technological are changing every day, every month, every year now. Then once we have all this conduct of accurate and precise calculation is the key into NC policy and NC monitoring and corrective actions area. If we do not do correct calculation, if we are not doing precise calculation after an implementation, then we do not get the desired results. Taking the same example of uh, size problem in a particular set of the cartons being supplied to the customers. If we have not done correct calculation, if we have not used correct, the measurement system analysis, then improvement will not take place. We may remain at the same level or go back to even more rejections because the precise calculations and accurate calculations have not been done. So this is all here an engineering and mathematical applications. So we don't go by just thoughts, we go by review of the data, fact and figures. We involve the team, we involve the workers, we involve the operators, we involve the supervisors, we involve the engineers, we involve the interested parties, we involve the engineers and suppliers of the subcontractor vendors. When there is raw material being supplied, the pins are supplied or the stitching material has been supplied for cartons. So we need to see that they are a part of it when we are going to make a improvement plan into the policy plan of corrective actions. Then what happens? We are into 10.2 is a improvement clause. So the key to continual improvement is what? Willingness to review policies. We have made policies. They need to be reviewed. Policies are not for ever. Initially we have said it will always be drafted and then reviewed and updated as per the changing needs of the product, process, customer, supplier, and interested parties and practices. So we are doing it on a regular basis, real-time basis, and modify as per the requirements. And we need to see that wherever the growth is being prevented, success is being prevented, we need to modify, we need to come to the real-time basis. So all these hindrances into the improvements are modified and reviewed and updated. The plans of implementation and planning and objective charts by the help of accurate calculations after the implementation, and data is being updated to see that the growth is not prevented as success is achieved as per the plans, vision and mission of the top management and the customer and the organizational team. So now the implementation part is also done. So what do we do now? Now we come to analysis and future actions. We have got the data available. So now what we do? We study the charts again now in the month of February. Third week we have planned the study of this with the help of cross-functional team and small groups, because one single person, one single department may not bring overall improvement into a non-conformity, which was because of a customer complaint. A lot of things are involved. The raw material is involved, the supplier is involved, the operator is involved, engineering team is involved, design team is involved. So we need to involve the teams to go on for further improvement. And then we do what? Monitor the implementation by various kinds of techniques so that we know our direction. 10.2 policies are there, objectives are there, but we need to see the data. We need to conduct the analysis and we need to see the direction. How much improvement is taking place by this policy? How much reduction in NCs and improvement have been taken place by way of corrective action plan? 2%, 3%, 5%, 6%, whatever. So all the data, or it has been increasing in some areas because of wrong calculation. As we said, if improper calculations are done, it happens in organization. They feel that yes, they are going down the drain, efforts are not bringing results. So we need to analyze adequately and we need to see the directions by various techniques. So now we have already conducted one internal audit maybe in the month of December. Now we are going to conduct the second internal audit maybe in the month of February 2023. By whom? Independent, trained and deemed competent team of internal auditors. Okay, so they are the ones who are going to do. Independent, trained and deemed competent means we provide them training, then we conduct their calibration, their recalibration at times as the systems are being implemented, and also it is a requirement if we are going for certification of management system. So clause 9.2 is mandatory to be implemented, and auditors, whatever levels of the auditors are there, they will see the records and they will see how the effective internal audits are done to see that this policy is being implemented. And we also observed that sometimes these auditors who are conducting the internal audits, second party audits, they are not conceptually clear about this policy. So it is important that MR or the coordinator of the management system implementation team is conceptually making it clear to the internal auditor that yes, you have been trained, very good, you are qualified, very good, you are calibrated, very good, but now you are going to audit this area, NC and corrective action policy, objective implementation area. So you need to understand the organizational philosophy, their plan of, their procedure, their work instruction on these areas, and then have a checklist with respect to this particular area, and then conduct the internal audits so that the effective results are being brought about from the conduct of the internal audit. And then what happens? Now we have got the internal audit done, we have got the files ready, we have got the document data ready, we have got the chart ready, we have got the NC format ready, we have got the analysis done of the first and second internal audit ready. So now maybe we are going for second management review on 25th of February 2023. So we need to circulate the agenda meeting the requirement of NC policy and NC objectives highlighted, because we want to control this particular activity, because that is what will bring improvement into the system. Internal NC, external NC, customer NC, final customer NC, customer complaint, customer dissatisfaction, and see whatever are there, they are expressed into various clauses and subclauses of ISO 9001. But ultimately, now we are trying to review it in line with the requirement of clause 10.2, non-conformity and corrective actions. So the management team is ready with the document, with the data on store and siege, NC in inspection area, NC in customer complaint area, NC in customer satisfaction area, NC in internal audit area. Directly system related NCs are coming from here, and at times the product process NCs are also coming out of here. So they are all studied in details in management review meeting by developing what? The responsibility and authority charts, the tracking of the data, tracking of the policy, and then what we do? We are implementing that via effective documentation of management review, minutes of meeting where authorities and responsibilities are defined, targets are defined, smart NC policy and smart NC objectives are defined, documented, and the tracking is decided here that yes, after 1 month or 2 months or depending upon the nature of NC, we will again track it and we will see how much of it is implemented, how much stores manager have done, how much dispatch team has done, how much of delivery monitoring has been implemented by the dispatch team. So we do all this and then what happens? Implement and monitor the further actions and the future plans. So we have discussed a lot of things here. So now the implementation and monitoring is going on. Once effectively that is done, then improvements are brought about into the operating system with the help of NC and corrective action policy chart and objectives with the support of small group activities, cross-functional team, and so on. Once this happens, then organization is getting ready for certification. So what is done? Lot of trainings are being conducted by TNV Certification Private Limited, approved by Exemplar Global INC for accredited training courses. We have around 80 courses which are approved by Exemplar Global INC from 9,001 to 50,000 and standard and so on. So those trainings, we have got websites here. Also ISO certification with UAF accreditation with TNV certification. We also are having TNV Academy under which we are conducting these webinars so that learning without limit is there and globally we can share our knowledge which we are earning out of our associates, our auditors, which are 500 plus, 1000 plus experts and so on globally. So we share all this here so that the globe is learning out of it. Also, we have got TNV System Certification Private Limited with IAS accreditation with 8 standards already accredited and some 10 more we have applied to IAS. So our websites are very, very useful, very, very informative. You can learn a lot from there. So this is what I thought I will discuss, and I started with the basic concepts of clause 10.2 because we have seen into organization that they only document and say some internal audit NCs. Internal audit NCs may have products NCs, customer NCs, complaint, satisfaction and all, may not be. But in concept, we have to see that we are looking at all of them and we react to them, we take action, we deal with the consequences, we do effective analysis and so on, and we determine that similar non-conformity, if they are there, we can take actions. We can take action on potential non-conformities also once we are conceptually clear. Implement any actions needed. We need to retain documentation. We need to also retain documentation of results of corrective actions and following up and so on. And these are the desired results. We are ultimately going for NC policy and corrective action plan so that the quality management system which achieves global requirements are met because an organization will have 10 units globally. So once we are able to train our team onto the concept here into Hong Kong, maybe there are 10 units, Australia, New Zealand, USA, UAE, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on. They are also trained on global requirements. So one training done in organization will bring global improvements, and also it will meet the requirement of sustainable development goal, and also the customer requirements are met, and language, logical, these things we have discussed, this should be clear, and they also need to meet the needs of the interested parties and vision and mission direction of the top management with respect to the MC and corrective actions. We do drafting, good documentation, and adequate approvals of the policies and procedure, provide training, we conduct the displays into the organization, offices, maybe on website as per the requirement, utilization of effective softwares to suit our organization requirement, and then effective communication so that we are all bringing about the improvements when we are on the same wavelength, same documentation is available because the same has been communicated throughout the organization and interested parties. Then we implement it effectively by making adequate action plans to support the MC and corrective action policy and plans. When that happens, the analysis goes on. Then we are going to enhance the effectiveness of NC plans implementation and various functions we see, not only one or two areas, because when at times we have seen in third party audits, NC procedures and plans are very implemented into the stores or maybe into the inspection or QA/QC, but the same thing when we go to some functions like their own internal audit functions, their own management review functions, their own dispatch functions, they are lacking. So we see that a uniformity of implementation is taking place. Conceptually, they are implementing it throughout the organization. Then the improvements are come seen by effective and good precise calculations, and we keep on reviewing that facts and figures with the involvement of all into this process, and we take action wherever the growth is prevented, wherever success is being hindered, we raise voice, we come to the real-time basis actions, and process is being reviewed regularly, and continual improvement is a willingness of the organizational team. Then we conduct analysis of the entire process of NC and corrective plan implementation by internal audit and management review and tracking of the action to see that improvements are brought about by the implementation of corrective actions effectively, and non-conformities are reduced as per your own plans and procedures. So this is what I thought I will discuss today. So it is now to the team. If they have any questions, they can ask. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question.
Ask.
Sir, how many months of internal audit records does an organization have to maintain before scheduling an audit?
Which audit? First party audit, second party audit, third party audit.
Sir, the third party
Audits are
audit.
of various types.
Sir, the third party audit.
So, okay, I will go to my point, which I have said, that have they conducted effective internal audits? Are those results analyzed? Has they met the requirements, if any, which has arrived of the second party audit? So the time frame defining is related activity to all these activities, whether they have documented effectively, whether those documents they have themselves checked, whether the internal audit NCs have been effectively taken care of or not. So once those things are done, then we can fix the timeline for third party audits. Not straight away we can plan the timeline for third party audits. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
If any of the other participants has any questions, then please ask. If not, then I will suggest that this particular webinar will be uploaded on our YouTube channel as usually, like all other webinars which we have uploaded previously, which we have done. So you can watch this particular webinar on the channel as many times as you want. And in case you have any questions at that particular point of time, you can simply put in your questions in the comment section of the webinar and we will be really happy answering them. We can now come to the conclusion of this particular webinar session, and I would say that we all are very glad and we have been benefited by the knowledge shared by Mr. Ajay Bajpai on this particular complex terminology, which is a common terminology across all ISO standards and also a very critical element in the implementation of the standard. I can also say with much confidence that our participants today must have been enjoying the context of today's webinar, and it will definitely add value to their learning and scope of work which they have and their expertise as well. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Mr. Ajay Bajpai, on behalf of TNV Academy for giving your valuable time and accepting our invitation to be the guest speaker for today's webinar. Thank you all the participants for taking out time from their busy schedule and joining us in this webinar today. I hope to see you all again soon in the next webinar session. Wish you